Welcome back to game number 2 in the SC2 Christmas Invitational. This is the best of 3 in the group stage number 1. You guys can type ! brackets at any time in chat live to get a link to the Wikipedia page. If you scroll down, you can find all the groups and all the players, as well as the casting available for this if you're not looking at Team Liquid. Now that being said, I'm Rifkin. I'm joined by Partoof. Thank you for obsing for me, man. Spawning in the top right corner of the map, playing for Mouseboards. It's the blue Zerg player, known as Vortix. Vortix. I always have to put the emphasis on that I. His opponent in the upper left, though, a young Terran player, and he is the red Terran Aqueron. Now, again, I'm not trying to give disrespect to his team. It is just a name that I cannot pronounce, and I figure it's probably less embarrassing for him and for me if I don't try. So we'll see how he does. I gotta tell you, the moves he was making last game weren't bad. He had some cool little moves with the Marines, pulling off the small splinters, widow mines, etc. The problem is, if you lose your army early on against a player like Vortix, and you don't have the production to immediately replace it, he's the type of player who's going to walk all over you. And if you guys are really paying attention to that game, Vortix was not quick to throw his mutalisks away, was not quick to give them up for those Marines. So it just, when you snowball out of control, you snowball out of control, and Vortix certainly did. Now go for the quicker, safer in-base hatchery. Not at all surprising out of Vortix. Some players will actually opt to take that sort of pocket base outside. That way it gives them a much safer third within their own base, but not that it's the biggest deal in the world. It's kind of semantics, really. A map like Ultraseam, by the way, guys, is like the biggest map in the pool at the moment, I believe, with 20 freaking bases and a huge map that has 0 Xel'Naga watchtowers. It can make for pretty dynamic games. That being said, it can also make for some really stupidly frustrating games, too, depending on your point of view. This map, often vetoed. We have been seeing it a little bit more lately, but I think it's because the alternate choices are not exactly a lot better. And it's, of course, going to make its way into the map pool for 2014. A lot of players expressing not a lot of love. Not a lot of love for the 2014 map pool, but I suppose Ultraseam is actually probably one of the least worst of the options available. So if players start getting used to it now, they'll be better prepared, I guess. I don't know. I say the big question mark. Reaper is going to luck out and go to Vortix's base immediately here. Scouting is everything. And there's not a whole lot for him to scout, of course, but without Queens out quite yet, as Vortix did go for the hatchery first. Still lose a couple drones here, if not careful. In fact, first drone does not have to be build canceled, just micros it. Lings have to, of course, be a little bit careful off of creep. Not the biggest deal, but of course their best case scenario is catching the Reaper while it's mid-jump. Oh yeah, if you guys use bot commands like ! brackets, there is a cooldown, so you can't spam them by accident. So if you're not the first one to do it, then you're no good. Vortex actually being quite, I like that, quite precise with the Queen, even though the Reaper was microed back, that wasn't auto-attacking. He did force it to focus the lower Reaper. Didn't quite kill it, but it did drive them back a little bit earlier. Aqueron, in the meantime, taking his hatchery. Well, the Terran version of a hatchery. He's taking a command center now within his own safer natural. Looks like he will be going with Bio once again, but has opted to get those Hellions out pretty quickly. I like that choice a lot, actually. Yeah, Vortex going to be not quite taking a start for a little bit. It has to get that creep spread going first. Another big problem with Ultraseam, depending on your point of view, is these wide open engagement areas right outside that third base. On one hand, you've got this really wide choke with tall grass, which is really irritating to deal with, and for those who don't know what that does, it basically creates cut-off vision. You need an overlord or something above it to see both sides equally. The other side is just wide and open, and your mom jokes, but realistically, it's none of these are engagements that either player really wants to take. Vortex, at least without creep spread, and Aqueron would never want to push into that with just like a death ball on range. It's asking to be killed. But okay, starts working on the hatchery. Again, it's probably not going to go down, guys. It's just 2 Reapers. Calm down, but that's okay. Vortex will chase this off with the Queens. Creep strike coming out once again, actually in droves. He has gone for 4 Queens in total. So nothing too crazy. No 5 Queen opening. Or 5 creep spreading Queens, I should say, dedicated to the opening here. But looks like he's going to create a bit of a choke at the bottom of the ramp, which I find a bit cute. This is, of course, again, to try and keep the Hellions out, but it's a bit of an odd positioning. Oh, I see what he's going to do. He's going to build upwards here to the left, Baling Nest, and maybe even a Roachborn on top of that if necessary. So that's kind of cool. I don't know why he wouldn't do this at the top of the ramp, but hey, whatever works for you. Gets a kill on the Creep Tumor. Doesn't really count as first blood, I don't think. They do, of course, burst in a puddle of blood, but they are buildings, guys. But okay, this push out of Aqueron, oh my god, I wasn't even looking at the production tab there. Holy moly, that's like 8 Hellions and some Marauders and some Marines. Well, a Marauder and some Marines. This push should possibly be able to knock down this base, because of course, what's Vortix going to have? Not Roaches yet. Aqueron has scouted that there's been a Baneling Nest down, but Banelings will be morphing in only just barely as this army gets here. 8 Hellions, 2 Reapers should be able to take out these Lings. As long as the Lings go down, Queens are not a threat. Needs to get a little bit closer to the middle line. Needs a better engagement path. Gets a bit of an awkward focus line, but does lose one of his Hellions in the process. Queens now being chased back, and suddenly on his doorstep, there's a much larger army that I think Vortix is prepared to deal with. Those 12 Lings dying, well, now it's 12 more on the way, and without these Lings, no Banelings can be made. He's going to try to focus down the Baneling Nest. Kind of an interesting choice. I actually like this, because if there's no Banelings, there's nothing to really easily clean this up. So there'll be 4 Banelings in total, boys and girls. That's it. Vortix is going to rely on 28 Zerglings versus a primarily Hellion heavy force. I can't say that this is going to go well. Nice transfuses on the Queens, though, will keep them alive. A fight around the ramp, definitely the best thing Aqueron could hope for. And this push, while small, is doing a ton of damage. Getting the Baneling Nest like that was huge. Marauder's soaking a lot of the Baneling hits here, too. Still Queens standing, and the Hellions haven't killed any of the drones at that third base. That being said, still rallying units across the map. Might just be a little too much for Vortix to deal with. Still, these Lings going to try their best to connect. One last Baneling going to get a hit off on that Marauder. Not the best way to utilize that Baneling, but it's not like Vortix had a better choice. Combat Shields just kicked in for the Marines, and looks like Stimpack is on the way, but Hellies have been doing a great job of cleaning up the Lings. Now it's just 3 Queens pushing them back, and Aqueron's going to hold back for a moment. Tons and tons of Lings have been forced right now. There's not a single drone being made, because if he does, he's going to die, and he knows it. Banelings are being morphed in, and this is the danger of putting that Baneling Nest on that front of the ramp like that. That weird, awkward wall-off did not pay off in the end. Still pushing through, sees the Banelings coming down, so now he knows that the nest has been remade. Aqueron, though, has still got a pretty good position in this game as long as he doesn't lose his whole army to these Banelings. Again, he's been rallying everything across the map, guys, and looks like that may just happen. Banelings are going to connect to a lot of this, and Aqueron needs to start pooling up at home. He's going to be in full retreat here. These Marines are going to go down either way, but Vortix finally stabilizes. 18 more Lings on the way, 2 2s coming up in a moment's time, and unfortunately, Aqueron has not even started his 1-1. Oh no! It's fine to be like an upgrade-ish behind your opponent, like 2-1 versus 1-1 or something like that. But 2-2 versus 0-0, these Marines are not going to stand a chance. Not against an army from Vortix. I gotta say, though, I did like that push. Had the potential to be really good. I think Baneling Nest being focused down was pretty cool, but if you had gone for perhaps the hatchery instead, might have come out a little more ahead. It's hard to say. But yeah, Vortix in a much better spot now than he was about a minute ago, that's for sure. Double drops loaded up, coming towards that third base. Well, I shouldn't say third base, sorry, the natural base. Freaking layout of this map. Will be scouted by the Overlords, though, so not going to be able to do too much, I don't feel. Which is a little unfortunate. Back at home, Aqueron, though. No third command center in base. I think he's realized, like, oh, crap, I got to get my upgrades going. So he double engineering base. A little bit later than I think he would have wanted to. Yeah, Lings are waiting for him here. Vortix isn't going to let this get out of hand. You know, dropping 1 Marine at a time into Banelings wouldn't be too bad. 1 Marine for a Baneling is actually a pretty good trade. Can actually cause Vortix a lot if that happens, but not going to opt for that. Third Commander is finishing up here outside the natural base. I thought Aqueron had not placed one, but did in fact put it over there. Establishing a third, I don't know. At this point, might be out of the question for him. It's weird to say that because there's not a lot going on, but with the Mutalisks coming out and the lack of units, Aqueron... Again, he's got these wide engagement areas, perfect spots for a Zerg player to take a fight. If he gets a wall off, I guess, towards the south, and decides to guard around the high ground, or sorry, not the high ground, sorry, the bushes, maybe that's his better chance to try and secure this base. I mean, he's got a lot of units, right? This is the one thing that Aqueron really is going for him. He's got a lot of actual physical units available to him, but they're not that strong. There's no upgrades attached to them. 1-1's only just started. Vortix is already on 2-2. Stim is done, yes, and that's quite nice, but... Without more Marauders in this composition to soak the bailing hits, well, she's got quite a few Widow Mines. Maybe he's going to rely on them actually dying rather than soaking the hits. But one way or another, Vortix's army, as long as he fights on creep, will for sure perform well. Centrifugal Hooks is done. Zergling Speed is done. I mean, he's got everything he needs mobility-wise. More Bailings are morphing in. So 7 more on top of the already 18 he has available. This Bioforce, oh god, if it doesn't split, it's dead. Oh god, this Bioforce has got to be so careful. Samudal swinging towards the main. Oh no! Aqueron's actually got nothing at home to defend. No Widow Mines, no turrets, no nothing. This will either force an all-in or call the army back. It looks like it will call the army back, so we're not going to force that all-in. But even stemming back like this, a lot of Marines get to the top of the ramp. Lost a couple SCVs there. Vortix killed 7 in total. And the Mutalists, of course, can always come back for more. They're not done yet. Marines being left in the mineral line, but no medevacs on top of them. Aqueron is going to go for a push off of this. Creep Spread is going to see this coming from a mile away. Mutalists decide to re-engage in the main. Going to focus down the reactors, trying to cut down the production of our Terran player. Gets one of the reactors, forces out yet another stim. And a big engagement in the middle of the map. Bailings are going to go off on every single one of mine and connect to a lot of these Marines. And right there, ladies and gentlemen, right there is why you don't clump your army versus Zerg. All of those Widow Mines, if they had been spread out. Oh, man. Looks like Marines in the main are cleaned up by these Mutalists. Now rushing back home. Aqueron finds himself suddenly without an army after an engagement like that. Is going to try and get on top of these Mutalists. Probably can't do too much, though, sadly. There's a lot of nice airspace that Vortix can maneuver around. Does lose a couple of the Mutalists. Gets stuck there for a moment. Loses 2 Mutalists. Might lose a third. Nope. Pulls on out. Meanwhile, that third base I was talking about before, no defense whatsoever, not even so much as a bunker, much less a supply depot wall. This is not looking good for the third. Holding this is going to be out of the question. What am I going to burrow way too late? The Bailings are coming into a very clumped up army. A fight on the ramp is probably the best case scenario for Aqueron, but even then, here come the Bailings, scroll in underneath. And oh, everything's choked up on this ramp so hardcore. No Widow Mine's going to go off on the Bailings. Last couple Marines spreading out desperately, but I think Vortix has just got the upper hand here. There's no way to shut this down. Aqueron. Oh, that engagement in the middle of the map. Oh, that engagement in the middle of the map cost him way too much. And again, Vortix looks to be taking another victory. Put him 2-0 at the start of this group here. Group number 1, good game well played, is called Vortix, your victor.